before I was born. When my parents found out that they were having a child with a disability, they were advised by the medical staff to have an abortion because their child won't amount to anything and they won't have quality of life. So they were advised, we think you should have an abortion. And both my parents automatically were like, no, absolutely not. This is what Hashem gave us, and whatever, that means, we'll go from there. But my mother's a fighter. She has a lot of Emunah, both my parents. She went to physical therapies. The physical therapist said there's this new doctor coming out of medical school. He's willing to take risks and experiment things to the point where he always said to me, you're going to drive one day. And I do. I drive. I have my own car. I drive. And he was really very, very influential.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful People podcast. Yes, not podcast, not pod. People say that. I don't know why. Pod. You listen to the pod? Sounds like a Tide Pod or a storage pod. No, it's a podcast. Anyways, I digress. Thank you for joining us again. We recorded an incredible episode for this week's edition with Hudi Arieh. An amazing, amazing story. Maybe you saw my post on LinkedIn about her, teasing this episode just a bit. This is going to be the story of Hudi Arieh and how she has overcome the craziest of challenges in her life and has faced it with conviction and with confidence. It's remarkable. This episode is sponsored by our friends at Zeh Mi Zeh. Yeah, I spoke about them last week, and here I am talking about them again. You have work that needs to be done, whether it's design, 3D design, contracts to be written, whatever it may be, and you want to support a Jew to do that work for you, right? Because why not? That's a great thing to do. That's why you're going to go to zehmizeh.com. That is zehmizeh.com. And it's a win-win. You get high quality work done. At the same time, you're supporting another Jew. Head to zehmizeh.com. They are ready right now for you. You go on their website. You choose someone to do your work. You let them bid out the project. They tell you how much they're going to charge, when they'll have it done, and they are ready to go. So head to zehmizeh.com right now. A big thank you to our friends also at Rothenberg Law. That is injurylawyer.com. Because when accidents happen, and they do happen, you need the right attorneys in your corner. It was actually very interesting. I was talking to someone at Sruly this week, and he came in on crutches in a wheelchair. And I was speaking to him about what happened, and he told me, and I said, ooh, that sounds like a lawsuit. It sounds like someone's liable there. And he said, yeah. And he actually texted me this week. He said, hey, by the way, what's Rothenberg's website? I want to go get a free case evaluation. This is a true story. You know who you are. And I said, come on, man. It's the easiest domain out there. It's injurylawyer.com. And one of the selling points I had on him is that you should know, this Rothenberg Law Firm, they are one big family. They are Yidden. They are people who you can trust. You can actually talk to, and they'll understand you. They'll understand your case, and they'll be straight with you. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, we're going to do this and do that. And that. No, they are going to give it to you straight what they think they can do for you. So take care of your free case evaluation right now at injurylawyer.com. That is injurylawyer.com. Rothenberg Law Firm, the lawyers that you can trust. Of course, a big thank you to Chaya Fishman. Thank you so much for helping us attain and lock down this guest, Hudi Arieh. Now, without further ado, enjoy this episode. You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people. Hudi Arieh, welcome. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you.
Don't be nervous. We don't bite. I don't bite. We don't bite. But thank you so much for joining us. I've heard a lot about you, and I'm very excited to finally have you here all the way from Baltimore. I want to thank Chaya Fishman.
Yes. Yeah, good
Big
friend.
thank you to Chaya for helping us make this happen. And to
Racheli.
And to Racheli.
We're not good on getting what's it called?
Who's making a cut it out motion as we speak.
She's like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. But thank you for coming. We really, I know it's not an easy trip, but thank you. We got to know each other up on the way on the stairs.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Thank you for that.
So it's a pleasure to get to know you better during this time. People watching this podcast see that, you're not like the ordinary guests that we have. Sometimes we do have guests like this, but we want to sort of hear from you, your story, from you And I guess you could just take us from the beginning.
Okay. So when I'll go like a little bit further back before I was born, when my parents found out that they were having a child with a disability, they were advised by the medical staff to have an abortion because their child won't amount to anything and they won't have quality of life. So they were like advised, like, we think you should have an abortion. And both my parents automatically were like, no, absolutely not. Like, this is what Hashem gave us, and whatever, that means, we'll go from there. And when I was born with a disability called TAR syndrome. It's Thrombocytopenia absent radius, but it just means that.
Spell that.
Yeah. TAR.
It's one word.
Yeah, one word. Thrombocytopenia.
It's great in like the multi-syllable games, like when you need like a lot of syllables.
Yeah, that will win a Scrabble game. Yeah. Full stop. No.
Like, yes.
1 million points. Game over.
I actually don't know how to spell it.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
No, but so it means that you're born with.
You only know how to rock it.
There you go.
Which is much more important than spelling it.
100%. So it's low blood platelets, and you're missing part of your arms. So Baruch Hashem, within like the first month of being born, my platelet level was normalized, and it was now time to like work out the orthopedic issues. And they went to one doctor, and he told my mother, your daughter's never going to walk. She'll never walk. But my mother's a fighter. She has a lot of Emunah, both my parents, a lot of Emunah. They're strong people. And she didn't take the answer sitting down. She went to physical therapies, and the physical therapist told her that the doctor that you're seeing is actually bracing your daughter incorrectly. And what they're doing is not going to help her in any way. They're sort of just like making you happy, like right. doing, they want you to,
They're just humoring her.
Exactly. They're just humoring her, and they don't want her to like get upset or anything. But the physical therapist said there's this new doctor coming out of medical school. He's willing to take risks and experiment with things. Are you willing to go see him? So my mother said yes. And he was one of the people that like really gave me the like push that I needed to believe in myself, and really like you can do anything.
Wow.
To the point where like he always said to me, you're going to drive one day. And I do. I drive. I have my own car. I drive. And he was really very, very influential. Unfortunately, when I turned 18, he passed away. But that's like the medical side. And then from like an educational side, going back to when I was a child, my mother refused to put me in public school. She's like, absolutely not. She's getting a Jewish education, and we're gonna,
Where did you grow up?
Baltimore.
Okay.
Born and raised. And
can I stay on that doctor for a minute before you go to the schooling? So I imagine it's a delicate balance for the medical field to manage expectations.
Correct.
And to empower someone that you can do whatever you set your mind to within the confines of one's abilities. It's a fine line. And like you shared from before day one, the prognosis was very, very bleak.
Right.
And here you are driving and rocking and doing all these things. It's such a fine line for the medical field to be able to manage expectations. It's so cool that you had that type of relationship with a doctor like that.
Yeah, absolutely. In 8th grade, we had a science fair, and I did it on my disability. I presented it, and he came. He showed up, and afterwards he took the portfolio thing, and he hung it in his office.
Really?
Like, he was proud. I always told my mother, I'm like, I think I'm his VIP patient. I'm like, I think I'm like his number one. Like, I never saw other patients in his office. Like, there was never.
You want to name him or?
Yeah, his name is Dr. Robert Bright. He unfortunately passed away in 2015. But he was a great person, and even to find someone after him was so hard for me, because I had he was like my best friend. Like, I had a problem, I went to him, he fixed it, and I was back in school. And then afterwards, I went through 3 doctors till I found the doctor who I use today.
What were, I guess, some of the problems that would come up? I mean, you mentioned the platelet thing, and you said, Baruch Hashem, they got that under control early on. Like, what's an example of, I guess, some of the problems that might come up? So
for me personally, just a kind of side point, my brother also has TAR syndrome, but he has a much milder case. And actually, he only was affected from in his arms. He has one like longer arm and one shorter arm. And when he was born, my father's first thing was, Baruch Hashem, he was born that he could put on tefillin. Like, you don't have the mitzvah, but he does, and he's still able to do that.
Wow.
So that just side point. But one of the big things for myself is I was born bow-legged, which is like your legs are kind of like turned in. And I needed a lot of casting in order to walk. And in order to make that possible, they actually fused my right leg. My right leg does not bend at all. And my left leg bends. And I learned my own way of walking and getting around and doing what I need to do.
Well, I imagine that's a lot of the things that you do. You have to sort of write your own rules to.
100%. Even in therapy, they're like, okay, this is how you're supposed to be doing it. And I'm like, nope, it's not how I do it. Like, you do it my way. Like,
you ain't going to tell me
exactly
how I'm going to do it.
Like,
let me show you how I do it.
Exactly. Like, let me show you how I get up from the ground. Let me show you how I walk. And look, a therapist will follow along with you. But yeah, everything at work, my boss is amazing. He really is such a great guy. And he like told me this year, I've been working for 8 years. And he told me this year, he's like, you came in, you had your interview, and I took over someone's maternity leave. She had her baby early. So I came in, he was like all over the place. And he's like, all of a sudden you're standing on a box of paper to get to the copy machine. And I was like, what is she doing? Like, why didn't she just ask for help? And I was like, I didn't need help. I figured it out. I figured out how I was able to get around, get where I need to get to.
How did you develop that mindset? Like that mindset of, I'm not going to be asking for help, even though this is my situation. I'm going to figure out how to do it myself. So
a lot of it goes back to schooling. Like I said, with my mother saying not going into public school, she went over to the principal of Beis Yaakov of Baltimore, Rabbi Mendel Friedman, Alav Shalom, and she told him, I had 2 older sisters, they were in school. She said, okay, what are we going to do about Hudi? And he said, every child has an issue. Some are just more clearer and easier to see than others. And he actually was one of the most innovative people because he had me with my disability. There was a girl a grade older than me who was blind, and another girl in the school also that was deaf. And he went out of his way to make sure that the school was inclusive, and whatever we needed, he made happen.
Wow. So
between him, my doctor, my mother, my family, there was no, oh, I can't do it. Oh, this is impossible. It wasn't an option. It was, you're going to do it. You're going to figure out how to do it your way, and we're going to support you with whatever you need. So like even coming here, I'm not driving right now, and I need to get here. So my sister came. So we just make it happen.
It's so awesome. It's such a transferable skill, like really across everything, to understand that sometimes there's a hurdle in front of us and it's so easy to conclude, oh, like it's not going to happen. It's not negea. And to just like surrender to this like defeat. But you have this on a daily basis. You put this into practice, but it's really something that every single person on the planet Earth would benefit from implementing in their own life. Where are we imposing our own limitations on ourselves and lying to ourselves by saying, oh, this is not something that I can do? Yes, it is. Yeah. There is a way to figure out how to do that.
So I always say my mind works like a lot faster than most people. Like I'll be at Shabbos meal, or I'll be somewhere and everyone's like, oh, how should we sit? And in 2 seconds, I'll have everyone seated. Like, oh, this couple did. And they're like, what? And I'm like, my mind is always planning. It's always in plan mode of like, okay, this is a challenge. We need to conquer it. How are we going to do it? And it's constant like that. And I'm like, and everyone's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, no, I need to understand if when I wake up in the morning and this is my schedule, I need to figure out what's the easiest and fastest way that I'm going to get everything accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I don't know. Like this is, hearing what you're saying is so huge because you're accomplishing so much and you're not letting anything hold you back.
I try. There's certain things that I won't do. Like I won't go on a roller coaster. Absolutely not.
The
stairs wasn't roller coaster.
It's pretty close to a roller coaster. But tell me about, I guess, the process. Your parents said they refused to do public school, so you're in Base Aqua, Baltimore, and you're integrated into a class of probably 20 some kids.
Yeah.
And maybe you look different than the rest of them. Was there any instances of just like bullying, or or people getting used to people, or really not?
So big credit to my class, which is where Chaya Fishman and I went to school together. We were in kindergarten through 12th grade together. And my whole grade, the teachers in Beit Yaakov, like in class, they have like line leader and whatever board eraser.
Yeah.
One of the chores in the class was to push Hudi. And I was in kindergarten, I was in like a doll stroller, and then I moved up to like a baby carriage, and I was ahead of the line, and that was one of the chores, but it was a privilege. And because the teachers in the schools didn't make it as like, oh, okay, who's going to push Hudi today? It was more like, okay, you did great on your test. You get to push Hudi.
Who gets to do that
Exactly.
Wow.
Everyone was super excited to do it. That I really didn't know about bullying. And it's going to sound weird. I didn't know about bullying until I was actually sitting in my doctor's office, and there was a girl crying next to me. And I looked at my mother and I'm like, why is she crying? And my mother's like, in some schools, like the girls aren't as nice as the girls in your grade. And I was like, why? I didn't understand it. I didn't know that it was a thing where people got made fun of because of their disability. It wasn't part of my life. And it really is a big credit to my class. My classmates were amazing. I was always included in everything. I was one of the more popular kids. I was always on whatever committee needed to get done. And I think it's because it stemmed from the principal and then the teachers, and then just went up the rope.
What a great people.
Yeah, it is. It really, I can't say like when everyone's always like, oh, did you have a hard childhood? I didn't.
Like your story could have been so much different.
100%. It could have been. And that's why I think for myself, I'm very positive because I had a positive upbringing. My family, they were always it was never a point where like, they were like, oh, no, we have to help the disabled sister. Nah, not a thing. There was never in school where it was like, oh, no, we have to like help Hudi or whatever. And like I said, I was always the more popular kid. And to the point where like 12th grade, in 12th grade in Beit Yaakov, the way it works is they appoint one girl to speak at the graduation dinner. So everyone like kind of nominates someone and then they vote. And it's one girl every year. And my 12th grade year, my principal's like, so this year we're going to have two. It's going to be Hudi and someone else. And I looked at him, I said, no. He said, no, you're going to speak. And I said, no, I don't want to. He said, no, you need to speak. You need to like show people that like, you graduated 12th grade. You did it a great thing. So I did. I spoke, but I wasn't so happy. Not a public
formal
speaker.
objection on the record.
Exactly. But thank God. It really, Baruch Hashem, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that like love and kindness from my friends and my family.
We interviewed a woman, her name was Malky Jacobs, and she had a similar struggle. She had both her arms amputated and her legs as well. And something she had told us is when she was in the hospital, the thing that kept her alive was the sense of community that she had.
100%.
That was literally, she literally said that she would not be here if not for her community. And it sounds like you're
very 100%. When I had my first surgery, that was going to be the year after 12th grade. So everyone goes to seminary. I didn't go for multiple different reasons. And I was having surgery. And I told my mother, I'm like, I don't want to have surgery. And it was the first time I was like, no, I don't want it. She said, why? I said, because nobody's going to be here for me. All my friends are in Israel. They're all in seminary. No one's going to come visit me. At that point, I was already involved with High Lifeline, and they sent visitors. And they sent, people came and their volunteers came. And my mother was like, no, it's fine. Like in the hospital, be quiet. Like you'll recover. Day one, she's like, no, we need people. She's like, you're not okay. And I was like, yeah, I do. I need people. I need community to be there. And
you're a people's person.
I am a people's person. Yeah.
Are you like in sales?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so
We'll be right back to this episode of the podcast. But first, a word from our friends at Purple Stairs. Yes, maybe you're working at a job right now and you're like, I just don't think I am being paid enough. I don't really love the environment I'm in. But at the same time, I don't want to go out there and say, hey, I'm looking for a new job and put it out there publicly on my LinkedIn profile or put it out there on the gram or a pod, as you youngins like to say. Kidding. But you want to do it in a way that is not going to sacrifice or put in danger your current employment. Introducing Purple Stairs, a group of developers came together and they said, hey, we are going to create this platform where people can go ahead and look at jobs and post their profile anonymously in a way. And employers will only know who they are after they get to a certain step, a certain phase. So head to purplestairs.com. Hundreds of employers are on there right now, and they are thrilled with the candidates that they are getting. Maybe you want to make a little bit more than you're making. Maybe you're looking for a change of scenery. Head to purplestairs.com. That is purplestairs.com. Make your free profile today. And hey, you never know what job you might land next. And that is with purplestairs.com. And of course, a word from our friends at Growtha, because your business can be a lot busier if you have SEO. You're wondering, what is SEO? Well, SEO is search engine optimization. You want to make sure when people are Googling your business that it is showing up as high as possible. And as high as possible is probably what a lot of people are aiming for. But when you're working with Growtha, as high as possible is not their goal. Number one, numero uno is their goal. Whether it's ABA therapy, home care, nursing homes, other healthcare related companies, they are absolutely doing the job right. And that's why you need to reach out to Growtha today. That is Growtha, Growtha.com, Growtha.com. You'll work with an incredible team. My boy Josh is ready for you to reach out and get your company number one ranked on Google. So when people search, what's the best nursing home in New Jersey? What's the best home care facility in New Jersey? What is the best ABA therapist in New York? Your company can show up number one. That's what you need. That's what will get you leads. That's what will make you money. And that is what happens when you use Growtha.com. Reach out to them today. Head to Growtha.com/meaningful. That is Growtha.com/meaningful. Use that domain and you have a small little discount ready for you over there. That is Growtha.com/meaningful. Now enjoy the rest of this episode.
It sounds like the school that you're talking about and the mechanchim that are leaders in the school. I think you mentioned that there was a blind girl and a deaf girl, and it sounds like the Eibishter orchestrated that these mechanchim are uniquely positioned to be able to understand that inyan of having people with all types of abilities and fully integrating everyone in the same class. And anytime that there is any opportunity to make an accommodation, it's an opportunity for the kids to do that, not a chore, as you mentioned.
Right.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that the school had multiple opportunities to do that because of how amazing these mechanchim are.
Correct. Exactly. Like when I was in, I think, first grade, my principal, he did a presentation to Torah Masorah and he put out a video. It was called The Win-Win Story, and it focused on these three students and how he integrated them into the school. And I don't want to know how many years ago, but a few years ago, he was nifter. And I was like thinking about it. I was like thinking back about it. And I'm like, Hashem put him in this world for me. I'm a little guy with it. Like, I think
really never
yeah, exactly. So I really said it. I said Hashem sent him as a shliach to be there to teach, people how to treat other kids with differences. Everyone has something different, and because he was there and he went above and beyond the basic need. As a child, I wrote with my leg. I didn't write with my hands. I wrote with my feet. He created 2 desks for me to be able to have one in the classroom and one at home. He built it himself so that I would be able to learn and adapt and do what I needed to do in order to go through school. And that was till 6th grade. And then he had the school buy me a computer because...
Wow. Oh, let's not gloss.
No, not at all.
I think you said I wrote with my feet.
I do.
How'd you figure that out?
My physical therapist my occupational therapist at the time, she said, like, let's use your stronger muscles. So my stronger muscles were my feet. So she taught me how to write with my feet.
Wow.
And
How old were you when you learned to do that?
5, 6,
Wow.
probably kindergarten.
Wow.
And yes, so she was very into that. And then I personally didn't like it because I'd have to take my socks and shoes off and sneeze and all that stuff.
It was before flip-flops were like really popular.
Exactly.
You know, I bet your handwriting, even with your feet, is better than my handwriting with my hands. I bet.
I think you mean foot writing, not handwriting, right?
Very good, very good.
No, but that was who he was. And I was like I said, I was taught to overcome my challenges. Just because you can't use your hands at this point, we're going to use something else. And it was all these people in my life that like really set a foundation for, okay, now you can go out into the world as an adult. And
I think it's the coolest thing that I've ever heard of my whole life.
So I actually
that you write with your feet. I think that is
no, it's not something cooler. No, not at all. No,
I can't think of anything cooler than that.
My niece actually recently asked me about it, and I did it for her, and I was actually surprised that I could still do it. And I think it's on my Instagram page. I'm not sure, but
so we're gonna check it out.
I could send the picture, but literally, she's like, "My Abba told me that you could write with your feet," and I was like, "I can." She's like, "Nuh-uh." I was like, "Bring me a pen and paper," and I wrote her name.
Prove it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's also something about me. Like, don't tell me you can't do something. It's very dangerous for my own health. Like, I will do everything I can to try to prove you wrong.
Should have told you, but you can't walk up these steps.
By the way, it's like a Michael Jordan mentality. Sorry for the sports reference.
No.
I know Naka's very mocked
I'm like,
on not doing sports references.
You said Michael Smith?
No, but isn't that like his thing? Like he would say, like, just to prove people that he can do something that someone ruled out. Yeah. Don't tell me I can't do that.
Right, don't tell me I can't do that. And to the point where actually we were coming back from one of the kids' college trips. I had this big suitcase, like one of the bigger ones. And I started like pushing it. And this guy was like, let me do it. You can't do it. And I was like, yes, I can. And I literally schlepped it through the airport. And one of the like administrators was like, okay, new rule. We're not allowed to tell Hudi she can't do something.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
I mean, I imagine in that scenario, but another scenario is inevitably there's people who probably look at you and then maybe they look for an extra, whether it's kids or adults, right. They just, they do a double take. How do you deal with that? Does that bother you? Do you get it? Like,
so I'm going to break it up to kids and adults.
Please,
two separate things. First of all, for all the adults listening,
kids do it to me. I'm a redhead.
Right, there you go. I'll use you as an example, but don't shush your child. If a child is staring at someone, if a child has a question, don't shush them, because then you're making it as something that's weird. You're telling them, no, that's not normal. Don't look at it. Don't, like how you like say, like, hide your eyes. Like, oh, that's not okay. So automatically you're making me this like odd object of like this abnormal thing, where if you would just say, and I had a few people come over to me and say, my child has a few questions. Do you mind if he asks them or she asks them? And I don't care. Come over to me. Now, this is me. Some other people might care and they might say like, no, I don't want to answer. And it's something, like I said, the adult should always respectfully ask. But for children, I actually say that the first thing I say is, Hashem made everyone differently. And I always take hair as an example because it's so concrete to them. You have a boy in your class, you have a girl in your class with red hair, you have a boy in your class with blonde hair. Yeah. You have blue eyes, she has
some people with no hair.
Right, there you go. Some people with no hair.
You have half a head. Relax, buddy.
Well, Sphera. It gets weird on Sphera.
But then they're always like, yeah. I'm like, so Hashem made that boy different, and he made me different. He didn't create me with arms. And then they'll ask, sometimes they'll like be like, okay, and go and play. And sometimes they'll ask further, like, can you do X, Y, and Z? And sometimes if it's a like, I'm somewhere that I can show them like, yeah, I can do whatever, then I'll demonstrate. But if I can't, I'll just say yes, and I'll explain it to them, because they're curious. Children are curious by nature. Yeah. And the more you break it down for them and the more you make it normal, they're not going to look at the next girl in the wheelchair staring. They'll glance twice, but they'll be like, okay, oh, I have a friend that has because automatically when you become like talk to kids on their level, you're their best friend now. Yeah. Like, so they'll be like, oh, I also have a friend that sits in a wheelchair, or my friend doesn't have arms. And all of a sudden, like, people with disability are now just another person. They're not
much more relatable.
Correct. They're not people with disabilities. They're just more people who are different. And everyone's different no matter what.
And with adults?
So adults, it's a little bit harder.
Adults are much more.
It's a little bit harder because it's not.
Kids are much more awesome than
they're
adults.
also awesome. I love kids. Like I taught in a boys' school.
We should just once they get to 13, just like.
I taught in a boys' school for 3 years.
What age?
3rd grade.
That's the sweet spot. What? What is that? Am I getting canceled? No, I'm good.
But adults, it's not necessarily that they're staring. They automatically assume you need assistance, which could be really hard because, like, let's say for instance, I'm climbing in my car. So they'll kind of like come up to me and be like, do you want me to close the door? Do you want me to close the door? And I'm like, no, I need to get situated first. I need to do what I need to do to get in my car. Do you want me to hold your books? No. And a lot of times, and they mean well. Every person means well. I don't want to come off like, oh, nah. But what I always tell people is ask and listen. Can I help you? How can I help you? Because if I say yes, and I'll say like, oh yeah, can you carry this? Or can you get me the milk from the high shelf or whatever it is? I'm going to ask you for help. If I don't need help, walk away or watch. I don't care.
Take out your camera.
There you go.
Call the wife, the kids.
Exactly. My boss always says, he's like, when he has like clients and I'm like, I'll like climb on a desk to get a file on a filing cabinet and I'll be like, she doesn't want help. I'm not mean and I'm not being rude. She doesn't want help. And like, he's like, and then I'll like come in. He's like, Hudi, I have to put that disclaimer out. Like people are thinking like, oh gosh, she's making it. I'm like, no, I understand. But yeah, it's just about, like I said, I also think if you send out confidence to the world, people see it also. Mm-hmm. Like if you exude confidence, people are like, hey, she got this and she could handle it. And again, like you want to watch, I don't care. Great.
Can I just say for the record,
you could, you're a podcast host.
Like legit. Like I feel just like in this little time that we're talking, like if I was stuck with something, I would call you to be like,
sure. And she said she's nervous.
I get nervous. Now. I'm good now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But yeah, to piggyback what Momo said, like I would probably be like scared of you if you were like my boss.
So
your colleagues are probably like, people come in and be like, and they're like, no, don't let the looks fool you. Like she's got it, you know. Like
so, my father's a Rav of the Persian shul in Baltimore.
Oh, that's amazing! I love Persians.
Yes, my father's Persian, my mother's American. So we're mixed. Nice. We're a mixed breed. And I work for a shul also. It's my part-time job or full-time because you work 24/7 for them. But always like there's kids running around the social hall or like there's kids and I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't run around there. And like my father will come down like, that kid never listens. I'm like, it's me. I'm scary. I'm the scary one. And I'm nice about it. Like, I'm like, oh, you're going to get hurt. Like, we don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you to like mess things up. I think you should go find your father. They're like, oh, okay, fine. And because I'm always, and also this is another thing, don't hide your disabled child. Don't try to put a blanket over them so that people don't see it. Expose them to the world. Let people know that this is my child. My parents could have done that. In Camp Simcha, there were girls that when it came to family Simcha, they were told to just sit in a chair because people can't know that they walk with a limp or whatever it is. And my parents didn't do that. They were the complete opposite. This is who we have. This is who you are. This is what you're going to do. And the kids in my father's shul don't even stare. They know me. They know me by name. They know that she's the one that gives out candy on Simchas Torah. Like, they're fine with it. But then when a new kid comes, you see that like curiosity in their eyes. And the other kids, because they're so used to me, like, no, go. She's the one that gives out prizes. She's the one that has the candy. I'm like, good.
It really seems like you kind of won the lottery when it comes to family, and friends and 100%. Support. Like for everything that maybe you don't have, oh my gosh, you have such a strong, amazing support group.
I do. I really, really do have an amazing support group, an amazing family who are there for me no matter what. There are hard days. I'm not going to be like, oh, every day is rainbows and butterflies. There's definitely hard days. It's been a hard year, but thank God, they've been there for me. And if it meant like, okay, we have to go to another physical therapy appointment or, mommy had, and really my siblings, I give them a huge thank you, because if it meant like, oh, mommy's in the hospital now with Hudi, but she can't come to, school trip or whatever, they were okay with it. And I mean, I think they were okay with it. And
give me your siblings out of empty house, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But they thank God. Yeah. I really did. I did win the lottery with it.
What I guess were some of the challenges that maybe you deal with that people wouldn't necessarily know about?
I think some of the challenges is that, like, for me, my orthopedic journey is hard. So I said it was a hard year. I had knee replacement surgery, taking way longer to recover than I thought I would. And
I imagine that's why you're not driving now, you said.
Correct.
Right.
And why I can't do stairs. But so many times I wanted to give up. So many times I'm like, okay, I'll just be in a wheelchair. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, and even my orthopedist was like, no, you're not. You're not going to be okay with it. This is not who you are. You're not a wheelchair person. Like, you need to go back to physical therapy. And huge shout out to my therapy team, who I think every time they want to graduate me, I come up with another issue so I can stay longer. Sure, I have pain. But they're great. They're extremely innovative. They also are, the head of the therapy department is constantly like learning new things and learning new therapies. And I'm always his guinea pig, like always.
And you're good with that?
I'm good with it. I'm fine. I grew up that way. Like, you want to stick me with needles, I'm good.
You're like the dream patient.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I think my biggest challenge. And I think the other thing is just sometimes it's hard that when it comes to shidduchim and stuff, it's very much disabled.
Right.
It doesn't matter if the guy has zero personality and I have a personality, or he has way too much of a personality and I just can't. It doesn't matter. No. What do you mean? Of course you should go out with him. You both are like, so, and I've gotten yelled at by shadchanim that said, I have two examples. One of them, I went out with a guy, drove in for it from Baltimore when it was in 5 towns, and came back. And the guy on the date told me, I don't have time tomorrow. I'm working in the morning. I have something at night. So I drove back to Brooklyn to my friend's house. Shadchan called me. Okay, so we need you to drive to Far Rockaway for 20 minutes on his lunch break. And I was like, no. And she was like, what do you mean no? And I was like, first of all, he doesn't have time. And for other reasons, it wasn't a shidduch either way. And I knew right away. And I said no. And she goes, what do you mean? Well, do you want to get married? And I was like,
whoa.
Yeah, I do. But he's not for me, first of all. And second of all, I'm not driving to Far Rockaway in the middle of the day on a Sunday afternoon when he told me he doesn't have time. So clearly he's not interested in this 20-minute date either, which you're forcing him. And I'm not interested. And so she was like shocked. And the other one was recently, I was read to someone and I told the shadchan, he's not for me. Our disabilities don't match. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, no, I'm telling you, he has more of a cognitive disability. I have more physical disability. No, he doesn't. And I was like, I spoke to his friends. I spoke to his neighbors. I'm not the type to just like go out with someone just to go out.
Right.
And also most people are in New York. So it means coming into New York because
way more of an investment.
Nobody goes to Baltimore.
We'll be right back to this episode, but is it an episode if we're not mentioning our friends at Toveedo.com, because it is time that your children are watching content that you are okay with, that you respect. And let me tell you something that's going to happen. They are going to love it too. Whether it's Bella Bracha, Kivi and Tuki, Shimshon Agibor, there are so many great options on Toveedo.com. So make your account today. Head to Toveedo.com, use promo code MM10 for 10% off your purchase right now. Toveedo.com. They have amazing content ready for you and your children to watch. And I will tell you that every single week there is new content being uploaded. It's not just, oh, this is what you got. You see it? Good, got it, done. You're going to keep renewing your subscription because new content keeps coming out. Amazing content. Thrilling content. They are very innovative. They are constantly brainstorming. Well, okay, so Shavuos is coming up, and then you have Tisha B'Av, and you have Rosh Hashanah. New content catered for you, the Jew. I like that. Well, you'll like it because you'll head to Toveedo.com. Use promo code MM10 for 10% off. And while your kids are watching Toveedo and you're, I don't know, working on the dishwasher, maybe on the outdoors, grilling on the grill, or maybe you're working with your refrigerator, which I recently had some manias with. Well, of course, you want to call Town Appliance. Hey, need a new dishwasher. Hey, weather's getting really nice. Need some outdoor setup over here. Need some grills. Whatever you got going on, Town Appliance has it for you. And the best part about it is that besides for them being around since 1979, of course, and, probably long before a lot of you were born, they've been doing this. But you can reach out to them on WhatsApp. Just shoot a message. Hey, guys, I need a new fridge. I just got married. I need a dishwasher. I have no idea where to start. Well, have no worries. Town Appliance has got you covered. Head to townappliance.com or hit the link in the description of the show notes of this episode and send them a message. And they got you covered. Townappliance.com. So this shidduchim thing is a very interesting topic. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I think I'm glad you did, because is there a protocol for shadchanim, or is there a shadchan who knows how to handle or navigate the shidduchim when it comes to disabilities?
So you'll get, I think it was three or 4 years ago, someone called me. Before that even, when I was like 8 years ago, someone messaged me. She said, "Oh, there's this shadchan. I'm not going to say where she's from because it's well known. I don't want to hurt her name, but there's a shadchan, and I think you should meet her. She's coming to Baltimore." I said, "Great, 100%."
People do come to Baltimore.
Right.
Yeah.
So she made a shidduch and she was coming for the VAR. So I went to the VAR and she didn't show up. She had a family emergency. I said, "Great, fine." And then I never heard from her again to reschedule or anything. And then my cousin called me and she's like, "You have to meet her. I'm telling you, you have to meet her." And I said, "Listen, I tried emailing her. She didn't email me back." So she literally, and when I said family, I meant extended family, everyone. They're all supportive of me. She literally every day would email this woman, "You need to meet my cousin. You need to meet my cousin." So finally the lady said, "Okay, you can drive in to wherever and meet me," and she charges. So we drove in, I met her, I never heard from her again. And then another woman, the other shadchan who...
And you paid?
I paid. Because what do you mean? Of course you have to pay.
Right.
So it's just... And then this other lady who set me up with the guy who was cognitive not the same, she called me randomly and she'll be like, "I have the best shidduch for you." I was like, "Okay, great. Let me hear information. Are you going to say yes?" So my new thing is get a yes from the guy first, because 98% of the time it's a no for whatever reason, and it's fine. But don't come and scream at me and say, you have to go out with him, or for instance, this one guy that she was kept persisting, "Are you going to say yes to him? Are you going to say yes to him?" I said, "You told me a year ago he wasn't interested. Is he interested?" "Oh, I told you that?" I said, "Yeah, you told me he wasn't interested." And she's like, "Oh." I said, "Get a yes from him and I'll look into him." I'm not even going to go further. I still haven't heard back from her. So
the answer is no. There isn't shadchanim that are dealing with this specific.
Correct. I think it's hard because it's a very sensitive area. It's an area where you don't want to set people up, and then they're already sensitive, and it's oh, clearly they think I'm, not fully there because they set me up with this type of person, or I'm less disabled than that person, or whatever it is. And even I was working with someone who was trying to make a Shabbaton for disabled shidduchim, and he was like, "I can't." A month in, he gave up. He's like,
"Why is that?"
He said it was too difficult to figure out physical versus cognitive or other areas, and he said he would need too many shadchanim to come down and be there for each couple. That it was way too much work, and he just said, "I don't think people are interested." So,
how does it make you feel?
A little upsetting, but everything in my life, if Hashem wants it, He'll send it. So there you go.
and may every ounce of Saftlas that you do along the way bring the shefa a little closer.
I mean, thank you.
Amen.
But yeah, that's
all the Saftlas that we do.
Right, exactly. But I think that's my life was always about Emunah. My parents instilled it in me. I have it in me. If Hashem wants me to have it, He'll send it to me and He'll make it happen. And no matter which way He does it, sometimes you see it clearly and sometimes you don't. And for me, that's what, besides for the support and the, positive attitude, that's really what got me like way farther in life than any possibility.
So I hear that thread of Emunah through everything that you're describing, all these various topics that we've been discussing. And I want to invite you to elaborate on the role that Emunah plays in your day-to-day life, because to be doing what you're doing on a daily basis, the way I hear you describe, the way you approach every topic, every challenge, every opportunity is with this lens of Emunah. And I'm wondering where you developed that strength, that Emunah that permeates every aspect of your life. Where did you develop that so beautifully?
I think from my parents, from day one, when they refused to listen to the medical field, when they refused to like listen to, let's, abort the baby or whatever, they instilled that like seed and they developed it. My father is a huge believer in Emunah. He's constantly like, you want something? Ask Hashem for it. Pick up a tehillim and daven for it and you'll get it. And so many times within my life, I've seen it. I've seen where I was having a hard time getting something, like reaching something or doing something, and I'll take a minute, I'll stop and be like, Hashem, you gave me this challenge. Like, you need to get me to, step B, and an idea right like that will pop in my head. Okay, you can't reach that. There's a scissor nearby. Grab the scissors. Use it as leverage. Talking to Hashem. You don't always have to have him from a sitter. I think Hashem's one of my best friends. He's always been there for me. Never gonna leave me. And just kind of like saying to him, like, listen, you gave me this challenge. You got to get me through it. Like, there's no other way. Like,
it's amazing. I'm curious, how old were you? Because you started with this, and I was just like, it has not left my mind. How old are you when your parents told you that the doctors told them to abort?
I was young. I think I was probably in 3rd or 4th grade. I was young when they told me, and I was shocked.
Did that put like a chip on your shoulder? Like
a little bit. Like, I got to prove them now that like I'm somebody. The same way that part of not giving up on walking is because that first doctor said you'll never walk, and I can't let him win. But yeah,
it's like the common thread, I think, that honestly lands people in the seat that you're sitting in here in this office is like people doubted them at some point in life, whether it's a remarkable singer, whether it's an orator, anyone we interview. It's always that, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a common thread. It's a common denominator.
Because nobody likes to be challenged, and nobody likes to be told no in life in general. You want a certain bag, and the salesperson's like, no, I'm sorry, we don't have it. And you're like, are you sure? You want to check the back? And they're
That's
like,
so Jewish, by the way.
They're like, no.
Check the back.
Yeah, there you go.
Who says there's a back? There's no back.
And they're like, no.
It's just a wall.
Exactly.
Go to the back, it's like a refrigerator.
Back of what?
Oh, the wagon with the balls.
Very deep.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And even a child, if you think about it, like, that's how, like, when you tell your kids no, they're like, they won't give up, but I want that cookie. I said no, but I want the cookie. No. And then you're like, okay, after dinner, you could have, like, eat nicely, and then you could have the cookie. You give in to them because they're constantly persistent about it. And I think when it's a bigger challenge in life and not just the cookie, and you're like, I don't want people to stare at me. I want to be the regular kid. I want to be that kid that I was in Base Yaakov of Baltimore, where there was no difference. Even before I went to Camp Simcha, a friend of mine told me about it. I didn't know about Camp Simcha Special. I know about the cancer division. I didn't know about the other half. And my mother's like, are you sure you want to go? Like, there's going to be kids with disabilities there. I'm like, Ma, I have a disability. And she's like, I know, but like, you're not sad. You're not like, those kids. And I said, let me go. And first I was like, I don't know. And then the friend was like kind of persistent. She told my mother, like, I applied for her already. Like, you're just going to send her. And I went and called my mother the second day. I was like, Ma, I can't believe you never sent me here. But just on me.
Talk to me about Camp Simcha, Kids of Courage. Like, what role that played in your life?
A huge role. You really, like I said, Hashem always sent me the people that I needed in my life at the time that I needed it. So going out of high school where all my friends were going to seminary. All of them were going to, starting to get married, starting to, start their lives. And I was like one step back. I didn't go to seminaries, still recovering from surgery. Kim Simcha was there for me, the friends I made there, some of the friends that I'm really, really close with today. And being there and seeing that, like, there are other children like me and other children that I could help see their disability in a much more positive light than woe is to me, I can't walk or stuff like that. So that was Kim Simcha. And then Kids of Courage was more an adventurous side where, okay, we're going to take you places and you're going to do what you can do. And there's going to be no. Like, I remember Ari Dopkin called me up by the first ski trip. And he's like, hey, we're going skiing. And I was like, great. He's like, but we're putting you on a snowboard. And I said, no. And he's like, no, we're going to put you on a snowboard. And I said, but I want to go skiing. And he's like, but snowboarding is cooler. And I was like, okay. And
snowboarding is cooler. Yeah.
He's like, you could either sit in a sled and ski down the mountain, or you could actually use like your body and snowboard. And I was nervous, and I said, okay. When I got on the trip, I said, are you sure? Like, yeah, I'm sure. And he said, if you don't like it, if you hate it, like, we'll put you in a sled. We'll send you on a ski. I've been snowboarding for 7 years.
Whoa.
Wow. Yeah.
You enjoy it?
I love it. It's great. It's unbelievable.
I should try. I never tried it. I never went snowboarding.
I woke up from so the ski trip last year was a month post-surgery, post-knee replacement. And it was my knee replacement was supposed to be in January. It ended up being moved to February. I woke up from my physical therapist walks into my room. And I'm like, Annie, can I go snowboarding? And she's like, what? I said, yeah, they're going snowboarding in 3 weeks. Can I go? She's like, no. And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, you cannot go snowboarding. And I was like, but I could go next year, right? And she goes, yeah, next year you can go. And like, they didn't do it this year just with everything going on. But yeah, I'm ready to get back on the board and go snowboarding.
I feel like it sounds like to me like Kids of Courage is like all about taking people with disabilities and saying like, oh, you're going to do this crazy thing. Like, you're going to go on this.
Absolutely.
And just conquering. It's like really the name, Kids of Courage.
Right.
Like,
so it happened to be like, I always tell my mother, I'm like, certain things you didn't let me do as a child. And one of them was jet skiing. Like, my sisters always went jet skiing with their friends and I always wanted to go. And mother's like, no, I don't think it's so safe. And then the day Kids of Courage announced on the summer trip, they're like, tomorrow we're going jet skiing. And I was like, okay, great. And I called my mother after. I was like, Mom,
you're like, is there any jet boarding?
I was like, Mom, guess what I did? And she's like, what? I'm like, I went jet skiing. And she's like, oh, cool, awesome. And I was like, I thought you were going to be upset. She's like, no, because like they're doing it in a safe environment where like they'll let you make sure that you're safe and you're not gonna land in the middle of the ocean with nobody to get you. I was like, oh, okay. But it was great. Like you said, it's adventurous, and I think without both those organizations, I needed them to get me through the next stage of life, of get into adulthood, get the people that are going to support you and say, you're going to, I went to college, and they're like, you got this. We're going to, and my friends with Kids of Courage and Kim Simcha came to my college graduation. They came down. They did come to Baltimore.
You've been a big contributing factor to people coming to Baltimore.
Evidently. You're working for the tourist.
I'm a tourist attraction. No, but I have good friends. Thank God.
What do you think about skydiving?
I'm afraid of heights.
Are you?
I'm afraid of heights. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't track.
Isn't snowboarding like on like a mountain?
Yeah, but
that doesn't trigger the fear of heights.
You're in more control. You have more control.
Are you scared of flying?
Like regular flying?
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so just like jump out of it.
I actually thought about skydiving. Like I was at my friend's house and she's like, "Oh, next week I'm going skydiving." And I was like, maybe I should do that. And then I just got no. It's like
a Larry David bit. Like you get to this lunch place and he wanted eggs, and they're like, "Sorry, sir, the breakfast menu is done." He's like, "I see on the menu you have like a quiche thing that has eggs on it." Yeah, so make that for me. Get rid of the quiche and just give me the eggs. So just go on the plane.
There you go.
You're good with the flying.
I'm good with the flying.
Have someone open the door.
Just push me.
It's a very rational approach to the fear.
It is. Yeah. No? I think so.
I think if opportunity came where like someone would say like, do you want to go with me? I probably would go.
Sounds like a meaningful people live stream to me. I don't know.
Yeah, how about next week?
I'm good.
Yeah?
We're good, yes. Just don't tell.
Right here, it's going to cut. Sruly, we're going to cut from the episode to Hudi skydiving. Call your mom after.
Exactly. I'll call her after. Let her know. I'm alive. I'm okay.
Yeah. Wow.
No, but even like when I was snowboarding, I remember like I saw my orthopedist right after and I was having a small procedure. And I was like, yeah, I went snowboarding. And he was like, great, that's awesome. And I was like, so you're going to just fix anything that I ruined? And he's like, yeah, well, we'll go in for a tune-up. Like, perfect. And it ended up becoming like one of their, like there's a picture in a lot of their courses that they teach of me on a snowboard. And I had sent it to them and I guess I like didn't realize like how far they brought it. I was going in for a procedure and one of the residents walked in and he goes, you're the snowboarder. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you were in the class last week that like they were teaching. I was like, cool. Can we have surgery now?
That's amazing.
But yeah,
I want to ask you for those listening, what can we do better, or like what do we do well, and what can we do better as it relates to how people deal with people with disabilities?
So I actually like the Jewish community in general. There's so many organizations. There's so many, people visiting hospitals, people, involved in the disabled community that they do a great job. But what I think people don't realize is how lonely sometimes it can get of, if you have a friend or you have someone, your neighbor who's disabled, give them a call, go visit them, invite them to go skydiving. And like, don't just assume because so-and-so has a disability, they don't want to go to Aruba with you. Don't just assume that, they can't go because of their disability. 98% of the time, they'll make it work for them if it's something they're interested in. Now, if they say no, don't push them out of the plane. But
two things. A, I didn't invite you.
He was about to push her out of the plane.
I didn't invite you to go skydiving with me. I am not going.
I invited you to go skydiving with Nachi. Is what
I will not go skydiving. And second of all, I will not push you out. Maybe I will push you out of the plane just because to get you back for the steps.
Okay, I understand, but that's something. Include them in your. And I think it's nobody's fault. It really isn't. I think people don't know the happy balance, the happy medium of, am I being overly sensitive and like treating that person like a nebach, or am I being really nice and including them in certain things? And again, certain people will tell you like, I don't want to leave my house. Leave me alone. This is who I am, and respect that. But there's also the person that, you know what? Why didn't you come to the grade wedding? Because I didn't have a ride. Or why weren't you at so-and-so's whatever? And it's like, because I wasn't sure if I would be able to get up the steps or whatever. But if you called them beforehand and said, hi, I'm going to, whatever this place is, what can I do to help you join me? It's a huge, blessing. It's a huge encouragement. And I think so many times people don't even realize, you're with a bunch of friends and everyone's like, oh, let's go ice skating. And you're like sitting there and you're like, so I can't skate because I can't break my legs. But then you have that one person in the group that says, you know what? Hudi's with us or whoever's with us, let's go bowling. And all of a sudden you feel like a person. You feel like a mensch, like I matter. I'm part of my friend group, and my friends took the 2 minutes to realize, and it shouldn't even come from the person who's disabled. Like, oh guys, I can't do that, because at some point you're like, again, I can't do that activity. And again, I can't do that activity. So then when they call you that fifth time, you're like, no, I'm good. I have something. I have a doctor's appointment. I'm not feeling well. Automatic, your excuses roll in, because either way, you're not going to be able to be included. So when you have that friend group that says, hey, this is what we're doing. How can we, make it that you're able to come? So-and-so has a lower car, so you could get in and out easily. I think that's a huge chesed to people.
For sure. And it's just to broaden the lens for a minute. You mentioned before, certain people have inyanim that are more on the surface, that are more apparent. The reality is that in a friend group, every single one of the people in the friend group has an inyan that's on their mind. And if we would take a minute, like you said, to just be considerate of everyone in the friend group and to not make assumptions about what everyone wants to do and what everyone is willing to do and what everyone is able to do, and just get communicating as friends, as friend groups.
Right, exactly. Like, these are the options. What does everyone do? And it could be something so simple as, this person's allergic to 8 things on a menu. So when you go out with that friend group, and like you said, it's inside. Not everyone knows it, but your friend group should know it. And your friend group knows it. Okay, when we get together, we're not going to go out to eat. Or we'll go out to this restaurant because we know he or she can eat there. And it's just that extra step of like, I matter. I'm somebody that they're considering. They're taking into consideration. And like you said, everyone has something. Everyone, I don't know if this is so appropriate, but
go for it.
Dr. Dietrich always says everyone has a butt. Some people's you can see and some you can't. And it's just how it is. Like, that's a pretty person, but she's depressed. Or he's a great guy, but fill in the blank. And he always said, like, yours is more noticeable. You get what you get when you see me. I don't have arms. I can't walk so well. Like, I'm not hiding anything. I promise. Like,
go right with your feet.
I go right with my feet. There you go. But it's just a matter of getting to know people.
Yeah.
Taking that extra minute.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I wanted to ask you. I might not know it, but if I was listening to a podcast on the way here this morning, and this came up somehow. Someone said, if I could trade my life and just jumble it up, shuffle it with a billion other lives, I wouldn't. So the guy said, I wouldn't do it. I'm happy with what I have. What do you think about that?
So I actually thought about that. First of all, I just want to say that coming on here, I need to do like a cheshbon nefesh. I literally had to go through. I'm like, okay, this happened in my life and that happened in my life. Like, anyone who
Yom Kippur's like 6 months away.
Anyone who needs to do it, come on the show. Call them up.
Come on, sinners. Come on down.
Step right up.
Next guy on the podcast.
Exactly.
You're like, yeah.
No, so I was like thinking about it, and I actually heard it from someone, and they were saying, like, if you could trade your troubles, like, everyone kind of put their troubles in the middle, and if everyone could take anyone's troubles, in the end, everyone took back their own, because you know your own beast. I know how to deal with my life. I don't know how I deal with being, God forbid, deaf or blind or whatever, fill in the blank. I know how to deal with being Hudi and going through my challenges. So yeah, I would take my challenge back 100%. And I think, going back a little bit, that I think I have a advantage to everyone else, every other from person. I think anyone with a disability, you're so much closer to Hashem. Mm. You see Yad Hashem daily, and it's the little things, and it's the fact that he gave me amazing parents, that he put me in a school where the principal was so understanding and caring, and the fact that he sent me to a doctor who was willing to take risks and experiment. And for me, like I said, Hashem's my best friend, and we're tight. Wow.
That's a very, very powerful statement. The Svarim tell us that the klala of the Nachash is that the Nachash was placed on the floor and that his food would be on the ground. And the Svarim explain that the klala of that is that everything that the Nachash needed was right there on the floor. And it didn't at all need to have a relationship with its creator.
Right.
And the way you describe your advantage, that you have the Yad Hashem in your life more acutely than other people, Gewalt.
I see it. I see it with people who, on the outside, they seem to have a more cushy life, because nobody's life is perfect. I see that sometimes they're less focused on certain ruchnius things, and it's not their fault. Like you said, they have what they need. Yeah. It's right in front of them, and it's hard to be grateful when you don't know what not having something is. For me now, going up steps, it was never a challenge for me. It really wasn't. I did the 2 flights of steps at work. I came home, but now I appreciate that every little step that I could go up, I appreciate it. I thank Hashem. I thank Hashem that I'm walking again. And I know that it's all from Hashem. I know that my pain is from Hashem, and I know that the goodness of my life is from Hashem. And I think you can't have one without the other. You need both in order to be a good person, to understand, to empathize with other people, to see that, this person in their life is going through whatever situation. I can understand their pain. I can understand that it's hard for them to come out of the house today because they're embarrassed or whatever it is. And Hashem would say to me, like, hey, Hudi, that's your job today. Your job today is go and speak to that person. Go and, give that person advice. And I do it sometimes. And sometimes, it's harder for me because I have to, who am I? Like, and it's when life is going good, it's more of a, who am I? Why do I need to go, speak to that person? But when life is hard, you realize that every single moment is a bracha. A very good friend of mine, Rifki Darren, she was after a little bit ago, a couple years ago. She had a lung disease and she was on oxygen. We're in Kids of Courage together. And she always said, Hudi, I'll be your arms and you be my voice. And when the cheering happened, we worked together because we both used our milos.
Wow.
Instead of saying like, oh, I can't cheer, we joined forces and we became a team.
Wow.
And it really stuck with me of like, there's so many supports in life that you could, okay, I can't reach that thing. I'll get a step stool. Or whatever it is. And you just realize that Hashem put it there for you.
It's remarkable the point you just made about your friend, Allah Shalom. And, we're in middle of Sphira right now.
Yeah.
As we sit here and record this episode, and we're preparing ourselves for Matan Torah. And we know that Klal Yisrael achieved a level at Har Sinai of Ke'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. And Chazal tell us, and the Svarim explain, that no single member of Klal Yisrael on their own can have shleimus. But when we come together as a people, and you with your friend were able to come together in the avodah of cheering. Yeah. But Klal Yisrael collectively, we need to do that. And Ke'ish Echad B'Lev Echad, we can all take each other's milas and complete each other and reach that shleimus of Matan Torah.
100%. Yeah, and we could, 100%.
Mr. Shem, you're going to live out Me'ah Esrim.
I mean,
you're going to build a beautiful family.
Thank you.
What do you want Hudi Arieh to be remembered for and known as when people say that name in 100 years from now?
My positive attitude. That no matter what Hashem threw at me, I got through it and I got through it with positivity. I don't want someone to say like, oh, Nebuch. I hate that. I hate the, you said, what could we do as, Klal Yisrael? Don't Nebuch people. Because if you Nebuch people, you're going to make them a Nebuch. And I don't want that. I want to be known as, she had no arms, but she still was positive. She still smiled. She still got through her day positively. Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with our vast audience?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah?
Love that.
Hudi Arieh?
Hudi Arieh,
you left it all here on the table in the studio?
Yes.
We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was really an honor to sit and schmooze.
It was actually better than I thought it would be.
Well, what do you think it was going to be?
I don't know. I was just very like...
In my family, by the way, that's the Tati question about any experience. Did it meet, fail to meet, or exceed your expectations?
What does that mean, the Tati question? What does that mean?
My father asks that question.
Oh, okay.
So in the family,
Your father asked that question?
Yeah, about
such
everything.
a Bauman. It's such a Momo.
Yeah. Well, it's from
you're
my
in
father.
the pizza store eating a slice. Did it meet? Did it fail to meet?
Or exceed
your expectations, Momo? And you're like 7 years old. I'm eating pizza. Like,
it's good. It's cheesy.
Yeah. So, is our notebook?
It's always the Tati question. It sounds like it exceeded.
It did. It definitely exceeded
Good.
my
Thank
expectations.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And enjoy dinner.
Thank you.
All the best. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for watching this episode of the podcast. Please leave a comment on YouTube, leave a review on Apple, leave a rating on Spotify and Apple. We really, really appreciate it. And it actually does something in the world of metaverse. It promotes the episode to more people. They see more reviews, they see more comments. They say, hey, you know what? People like it. And we want to just, so if you're watching, you're like, no, I'm not going to comment. Please do. Please comment. We love hearing your feedback. Of course, if you have anything you want to send to me privately, you can email me at nachi@meaningfulminute.org. A lot of amazing new projects coming at you real quick from the Meaningful Minute world. But thank you for now for listening to Meaningful People Podcast. And we'll see you again next week. Adios, amigos.